never say thank you enough. I'm reading one more, Momoyo from Nairobi, Expectations, How to Learn to Mitigate Workplace Conflict. So to start us off, allow me to really introduce the host of this particular program. And the webinars that we host and attend are hosted by Profiles International in conjunction with our partners. And in this instance, we are happy to host and have on the webinar Ms. Sicily Kariuki, who we shall introduce shortly. But who are we as Profiles? We are an organization that is part of a global organization that delivers in assessments, in trainings, in people development, and we are really known for emotional intelligence. So these are part of the brands that we work with. You might have encountered the Genos International brand, and this one speaks to emotional intelligence, both its assessment and programs that we run to help organizations start to understand the competencies around EI and start to also see, inculcate them in the way that they live at the workplace and really changing the culture of any organization. We have worked with several organizations to inculcate this into their learning and development, and it has worked really well with those that we work with. We also have recruitment assessments. The PXT Select is one of our flagship brands. We have team assessments. The 5 Behaviors program is another flagship brand where we try and bring small teams of about 20 people to work better together. The Everything Disc franchise is part of the personality profiling that we have. And then last but not least, we have a digital learning platform where we really put in our digital learning solutions to help you scale up your learning. So during this webinar, you're going to encounter several products that we shall mention, but the key one being the Everything Disc personality style program. So we do have programs that are focused on Everything Disc and in view discovering your personality style. What does this involve? It just involves you clicking on the link that we shall share on the chat and registering for the first cohort that we shall run, which is on the June 14th of this year. The session shall be a one-day session, and we shall have 2 facilitators, namely Ms. Sicily Kariuki and of course myself, Vicky Karuga. So the investment for you is only USD $150, but once you click on the link, you get access to an assessment, you get access to a coaching module that is online, and you also get access to a one-day facilitated training session for you to deeply understand your personality. And for those in the house that are more towards practitioner, if you're a human resource practitioner or a consultant who trains and facilitates, we do have a certification for Everything Disc. And here you learn how to conduct programs, same as we, around being a better manager, being a better team player, understanding your personality deeply enough to know how it affects your management journey, your management style, and your leadership style. So if this is for you, you can scan the QR code that is there. Rose shall also share on the chat another link for registering to be a certified practitioner, and Everything Disc certified practitioner. And we do hope that these are 2 things that can be of use or of interest to you, because they really, really are what I would say game-changing when it comes to the workplace. And now, without further ado, allow me to introduce to us both the facilitator and the topic of the day. So today we are here to talk about conflict, workplace conflict, how to prevent it, how to resolve it. And we are joined by Honorable Sicily Kariuki, who is a certified executive coach, a DISC personality analyst, and a certified emotional intelligence practitioner. Additionally, she is an author and an accomplished policy, political, and strategy advisor. And drawing on 30 years of lived leadership experience across diverse sectors and geographies, Sicily journeys with her clients as their confidant and trusted sounding board. Having held senior leadership roles in both private and public sectors, she has served with distinction in the Kenyan government as a public secretary in various ministries, including health. She has coached and mentored several leaders, including ministers, CEOs, doctors, to be able to overcome and to go through and to journey on their lives and become better versions of themselves. And she has served as director of various international boards and expert panels under the World Health Organization. Please help me welcome Honorable Sicily Kariuki, MBS, to this particular webinar. And Sicily, the floor is yours for you to take us through what you have for us today. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vicky, and welcome everybody. 30 years sounds like a bit too many, but yes, 30 years in leadership. And what I intend to do, partnering with yourself and other partners, is to be able to share the hits and the misses within that 30-year span in leadership. And so without further ado, let me jump into the topic of the day. So beauties, from the comments that the audience is sharing with us today, every leader, every manager, every worker has experienced conflict in the workplace, one or another. So we are all speaking to a very, very commonplace experience as we manage, as we lead. And so just quickly to take a reflection, what causes conflicts in the workplace? But before we even delve into the causes, just to share with you a statistic that perhaps you may not have reflected upon. Half of the conflicts, 1 out of 2 conflicts in the workplace, occur because of personality clashes, differences in personality, differences in leadership styles in the workplace. And that's a bit too many. The other half would be caused by diverse reasons, ranging from work processes that may be flawed, poor communication or lack of effective communication, delayed communication, change processes that have been rushed and not handled in a manner that is sensitive to the people that are being affected. In a few cases, it will be power imbalances, lack of sensitivity to those that appear not to have power in the workplace. The list can go on and on and on, but I think that is a good place for us to start. You will agree with me that there are benefits of mitigating, resolving, or altogether proactively managing conflicts before they get out of proportion. There are benefits to that. But as you look at the benefits, let's take a reflection on the impact of conflict in the workplace if they go for too long, not managed or not mitigated. It starts with, at the personal level, basic disagreements, subtle microaggressions, growing onto real aggressive behavior in the workplace, work tensions, stress. Some of it sustained for too long, leading on to now what is looking like an epidemic, mental health. Now, other very obvious symptoms or impacts in the short term would be absenteeism, when a worker feels like they are not going to the right place. The best thing is to absent themselves, make all manner of excuses, sick off. My child was not well. I'm not feeling too great. Look for a training so that you can run away from the work environment. Turnover in the midterm begins to be real. Having said that, in the long term, what you're dealing with is suboptimal productivity in the workplace. It is lack of job satisfaction and all that comes with it. But in final analysis, the organization takes the brunt of stifled growth, forgone opportunity in terms of moving forward or succeeding as an organization. The client or customer-facing organizations, the customers will begin to turn away and look for alternatives, therefore foregoing business opportunities, as it were. So really, nobody desires or wants to be in an organization where conflict characterize, day-to-day operations, as it were. So today, what I intended for us to do is to look at then what is it that you can do proactively or once you're caught up to be able to resolve. And as we go down this conversation, because each one of you brings some experience, either as a manager of people or a manager of teams or whatever role you take, is for you to share with us again on the chat the experiences that you've heard, adding on to the conversation that I'm leading you on today. So for the organization process-based causes of conflict, would be easier to deal with if the leadership is so desiring to bring a change. Simply streamlining the work processes, working on issues of communication, where communication is not only just clear, but the communication feedback loop is complete, where feedback from employees and workers is sought for proactively so that you can be able to get the level of conflict that may be sitting undetected. Also looking at issues of ensuring that the mechanisms of feedback and communication within the organizations are well understood and everybody kind of is bought into the idea. Whenever there are changes, major changes in an organization, now we know that you can tap into the toolkit that contains the strategies for change management, so that then people do not get caught up and do not therefore resist, which is also part of stuff that causes conflict in the workplace. Now, having said that, also the issue of managing the power imbalance. I think that the Gen Zs and the millennials getting off are teaching us, those of us that belonged to the spaces a little bit ahead there, that power games, well, they will be there in organizations. I think there's a way they can be managed so that then everybody contributes at their optimal best. I wish for us to, Rose, I am not certain. Rose, we had a PowerPoint presentation. Are we able to use the slides and I can get off the stage?
Yes.
Please, can you flow with it? Right. So move all the way, scroll down. Yeah, that is what I've just covered, that I've already talked to. Let me begin there. And obviously, I see some typo, and that's all right. So just to say again, for the purposes of our discussion today, I wanted for us to spend a little bit of time focusing on the 50% cause of conflict in the workplace, and that is personality clashes. And I therefore wanted to suggest that the way to handle this or look at this is to be able to expose you to personality assessments and what it is they can do in terms of assisting you resolve workplace conflicts. I want to suggest that depending on what you've been exposed to, depending on where you've been, there are several personality assessment frameworks from the Myers-Briggs type indicator, that is MBTI in short, Enneagram, VIA, DISC, and a handful of others. But today, because Vicky and I are certified to administer DISC, everything DISC, I will spend time looking at that. But broadly put, for me to suggest that all this, whichever it is that you may choose, of course, I am hopeful that you are going to, be choosing a DISC because that is where we can offer help, give you a personality framework that helps you understand yourself, your personality type, and also understand the personality and the differences of those around you from a behavioral point of view. And therefore, if you move forth, Rose, I'm with you. Right, thank you. So if I focus on DISC, D-I-C-S, as a framework that we'll be focusing on here, is for me to suggest that this framework utilizes, is not only just simple, I like it because of its simplicity, but I also like it because of it is in terms of interpretation. I also like this because I have, when I went through this myself, it did not only add to my self-awareness and awareness of others as my journey in terms of becoming a more emotionally intelligent leader. So it borders quite well and anchors very well with leaders who are looking to lead with emotional intelligence. And therefore, it's not just simple, it is very functional, it is very easy to administer, it is palatable, and helps you to actually understand who you are with very, very little effort, as it were. So if we can begin to look at what it is, this framework, this framework, let me say, this framework, like all the other frameworks, does not attempt to suggest that if you belong to one style or your behavioral patterns are leading you to one of the 4 quadrants, that you are necessarily a better person or a better leader, or you can, so it is just trying to put you in terms of where naturally, how naturally you're wired from a behavioral point of view. If you're D, which is the quadrant which is really D, for purposes of memory, we may want to equate a D personality to an ego. And I'll be coming back to explain what that means. If your personality that finds themselves being categorized as person who is peacock on the CI, that is equated to a peacock. And we can begin to imagine what these animals stand for. If you find yourself or your teammate or your supervisor belonging to the lower right quadrant, which is an S, and I'll be explaining shortly what that is. The animal you want to equate a person belonging to that style or embracing more characteristic of that kind of personality will be equated to a DAF. And again, you can begin to think what a DAF stands for in real life. If you find yourself on the lower bottom left, that is a C, somebody exhibiting a style that is touching on C. Again, that animal is called an owl. I don't know how you pronounce it if you're from the Gambia, for example, or from the Ghana. OWL, owl. Again, you begin to appreciate what kind of a personality would fit within that kind of description. Now let's move forward on the next slide and look at what this means. This framework, again, careful not to pigeonhole or put anybody within any one single dimension or color, but this helps to give you the boundaries of where you think your mannerisms would take you or your behavior in the workplace would locate you. And the vertical axis, looking on the verticals. Rose, get to me on the next slide first. Then you come back. The next, no, it's gone. Okay, move. Let's keep that. Let's keep the one you had. So if you're asked to make an assessment of who you are using this very simple framework, there are 4 ways of interpreting where you perhaps belong. On the vertical axis, that is the axis that is like this, we'll be looking at you to describe yourself or describe the person you're observing from the basis of how active they would be if they are fast-paced in terms of action. Are they fast-paced? Are they not too fast-paced? And on the horizontal, we'll be looking to describe ourselves or describe the persons that we're working on account of how they deal with results. Are they how are they in terms of speed, in terms of pace, in terms of demeanor, in terms of who are they? And therefore, on the whole, we look at the 4 quadrants representing all of us, but in between, again, having nobody belonging to one quadrant, as it were. Most people will belong to one or two, and therefore, or even three. So a leader or a person, a manager, an individual will be picking traits from either three of these. And I want to describe each one of them. I will start with somebody who finds themselves very fast-paced in terms of action, wants to move forward, demanding action, is very intense on focus for action, social skills, huge, and always wanting to go and win. That person will most likely be described as somebody who is dominant, a dominant personality. This person believes in influencing. This person will believe in speed, wants to get stuff done. This person has very direct communication. We want to direct as they see it. Black is black and white is white. This person is a little bit impatient because they are very result focused. And this person, therefore, will be able, in a situation where we are calling for change, not necessarily be the best person. They could be quite disruptive and may perhaps not very settled. And then on the right quadrant, you have somebody who is described as an influencer. Remember again the images that I shared with you. This person will be the peacock. They thrive in spaces where collaboration is required. They are highly enthusiastic. They are called people persons, and that is maybe something that, again, I should have mentioned earlier on, that the description on the horizontal, who are you from a people orientation? Are you a people person? Are you a person who wants to be a little bit off the front line? You want to do stuff behind, or you engage, you thrive in engaging with people. Again, that person who we describe as an influencer, influencing type, that is the peacock. This is somebody who enjoys being told you're looking great today, your results were beautiful, and they thrive in being recognized when they perform. And therefore, for you as a leader, as a manager, it's fair for you to know that is what makes them tick. These people lend themselves to a lot of fun activities, even in the workplace. They lend themselves a lot to team building related activities. They are open. They love not to engage the way we are engaging, like today virtually. They love to be present, face-to-face situations. They thrive well in relationships and build great relationships. And then on the bottom right is somebody described as steady. A steady person. Again, you do recall the image you used there, a dove, peace-loving, isn't very quick to embrace drastic changes, somebody who is stable, somebody who wants to help, at whatever cost, a team player, somebody who is very empathetic. When you introduce a big change in the organization, this is somebody who will spend sleepless nights wondering the impact that change may have on colleagues and the people that they are working with together. And lastly, you have somebody described as C. This is conscientious. Vicky, you will have to use to help me to pronounce that. Conscientious. That person, again, is one who thrives on accuracy. They will not turn out a report until it is 101% correct in terms of data they were gathering. They thrive in very formal situations. They are the people who keep the to-do list, and unless you tick everything, they are not going to face the boss. They're almost described as being perfectionist. Their knack for details is higher than anybody else. They are high on hitting deadlines. That is what makes them tick. They are very keen on building knowledge. This you find in the workplace. If you're exposed, you will find people like the engineers, the detail, the auditors, people who do not want a comma to pass because it will have implication. These, again, people, in terms of challenge and who they are, is, they want to be given time. I mean, give them time, as much time as possible for them to feel comfortable. They are people who, in terms of dealing with conflict, they would want to turn away. They are fact people. They do not want to be caught up with a lot of people-related conversation and issues. They just want to get it right. Now, having known this broadly put, and given that the tool is as simple to be administered as it goes, it is important then to ask yourself, so once you have known your style and where you fit as a leader, as a manager of people, what then does this effectively mean for me? So I know my personality. I know the personality of my colleagues and the people that I work with. Then what? I come back to where it is we started, that this knowledge, that this information gotten out of this objective framework ought or is supposed to help you to set out proactive strategies to be able to do a couple of things. One, to begin cultivating a culture of accepting that awareness of the differences in behavioral patterns can be a strength in the organization, that you can tap into the various strengths as exhibited in this tool to be able to either assign responsibilities that are suitable for the various personalities or behavioral patterns that you detect. But it is also a tool that gives you data for you to foster a culture that values the respective viewpoints coming from different personalities, as it were. Equally important, it is a tool that gives you data that helps you to deal with issues of dealing with unconscious biases that we find in the workplaces. Importantly, this data that you get helps you to map training for the teams, the areas of growth that are projected and weaknesses. For example, if the D personality or somebody who is high on the D, combining with other styles, is one described as reasonably impatient. These are people who speak with their hands in the air all the time. And therefore, this person, for them to lead a team, they will need to deliberately work on their skills, either through training or coaching, to bring down the tempo of result orientation and the speed and leaving everybody else to be able to exercise some level of patience so that they can be able to carry everybody else along. They may wish to be twinned or to cover their efficiency gaps or deficits by getting a colleague to work with them who is perhaps from a different style or exhibiting different styles, as it were. So in terms of then, therefore, getting these organization utilizing this data, both as an organization but in individual spaces, the leader here being aware of the differences, again, is able, if you will, to adapt the way they communicate. For example, if you are high on D and your colleague who you are executing a specific task with is an S, high on S, that's somebody who knows nothing else except stability, very people-focused, who is highly sensitive in the event that you choose to use very direct conversation. The data that you get from the additional awareness of self helps you to then adjust the way you communicate to the S, somebody who is high on S. It helps you to also make a decision and communicate it in a manner that you are able to inspire a person who feels like they are still struggling to gather sufficient data, if they're high on a C, to be able to tell them it's all right, it's okay. We can begin to make a decision on directional data that is already in your custody, as opposed to waiting until you get 100% of the data before you can make a decision. When it comes also to optimizing team strength, the data that you get then helps you to leverage on the strengths from each one of the different personalities, therefore completing the team. And importantly, because today we were looking at matters touching on conflict and conflict mitigation, it is important, therefore, to say the data that you get the data that the organization and your colleagues get helps you then to perceive everybody from the way they are wired and respect the way they behave, the speed they take, the orientation they take, whether it is people focused, which sometimes can be, I mean, we are not a charity if you're in the commercial space, but just appreciating the differences that we have. It means that you're able to leverage on each one of the team members' strengths and make up for what seems to be their limitation, and be able, therefore, to reach as decisions in a work environment that is a bit more cohered towards the targets and the performance and the goals of the organization. It therefore means the data that you get can go a long way in helping you promote collaboration within the team, because now you have insights about how people respond and behave to different situations. You also are in a position to have employee satisfaction within a culture that is not judgmental, a culture where I am okay to be a nurse, and I'm also okay if I'm high on an I. I'm also fine if I am driven and I'm a D. All of us, we come together to complement each other within the team, within the organization, and there is space for each and every one of us. It therefore means the level of job satisfaction in such a culture is that much better, is that much higher, that the productivity then becomes that much better, and the organization moves faster towards its organizational objectives, as it were. I did mention that the data that you get at the individual level is recipe for professional and personal development, as it gives you a roadmap, for you to then use in terms of saying, where are my blind spots, and what it is do I need to do from a point of growth. An example, again, perhaps would be consensus. If you're high on D, have the time, you just want to get results, you just want to get going. Have the time, you may not carry the team with you because you are not great at building consensus. A personality high on S is the one that thrives on consensus. They won't go out to conclude a decision before everybody in the team feels comfortable, So we are planning a team building, for example, and we have decided we are going to have a team building, and the manager has asked the HR, who is an S, to make the logistical arrangements and, pick the date and pick the venue, and let's go. And the budget are provided for. But the S will not go to secure the venue until and unless they have consulted everybody. The following morning, there will be a mail out to everybody. And these are not big organizations. Which is your preferred venue? Can we go to Naivasha if you're in Nairobi? Or should we go to Nanyuki if you're in Nairobi? And therefore, it takes time. But it is okay for the director or the manager to appreciate the work or the task is being conducted by the S, and therefore they need to be allowed time to build consensus around that, because that is where they thrive in. But because it's not always that you have the time to consult everybody, it perhaps from a point of strategy important for you to put or ask for a team to be put together that is bringing the different personalities together, so that then you accommodate the consensus building, you can accommodate the person who was going to take too long building data in terms of profiling the venues that there are, and the possible places where we could go, and also bring the person who is the influencer to be able to bring in the team spirit within the conversation, and therefore that way you are able to move with everybody, and everybody's viewpoint will be accommodated, and therefore you will be creating a culture where every viewpoint matters, where every employee input is valued, where therefore collaboration is enhanced, and where productivity in the midterm, long term continues to thrive. So that is how I want to frame the conversation for today. So just simply understanding this framework, top line, understanding its benefits, appreciating that it's a tool that goes into also helping you with self-awareness as part of your journey on as you continue to grow on your EI competencies, but also a tool that is useful in growing the awareness of those people that you work with and how it is that it can be an additional toolkit for you to tap into as you continue to lead your teams. I want to hand this over back to you, Vicky, if you are able to again see what's coming through and also give us the call to action and any matters that you'd want us to respond to. Back to you, Vicky. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Sicily, for that very insightful. I believe that giving an overview personality, possibly the largest majority, of what brings about that conflict in the workplace and the lack of understanding of how these personalities then play out in the workplace. And then being able to show and demonstrate how each personality will be seen or will be demonstrated in the workplace, such as the dominance, the influence, the steadiness, or and then the conscientiousness. So my ask is to everyone, if you have sorry, I cannot
Vicky,
see any questions.
you're breaking. Vicky, are you breaking? You're breaking.
I want to ask before we get any questions. From your experience, how do people go about really reflecting and understanding what their primary style would be, even if they don't speak?
Vicky, are you there?
Did you hear me? Hello?
Vicky, we can hear you, but you are breaking. So maybe the question that you've asked, Miss Sicily, if you can just repeat it.
I didn't
Hello?
hear you.
Rose, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but the challenge is that you're breaking. So maybe the question that you've asked, Miss Sicily, if you can just repeat it kindly.
Rose, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but I'm just saying you are breaking. So the question that you had asked, if maybe you can repeat it.
I had asked just a question before we get the questions from the audience is, are there any tips of how perhaps we may not be able to get to the assessment right away, but obviously there is an opportunity as shared in the chat or as shared previously on how you can get a DISC assessment and get to really know your personality. But are there tips that you can give us on how we can start to understand what our personalities might be at the workplace?
Hello, Vicky. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, gee. I can hardly pick from Vicky. Just tell me summarize for me what Vicky is saying. Rose, please.
Vicky was asking if maybe there are tips that you can give on the personality, on the DISC assessment.
Okay, thank you. I hear you. So I start by what Zangi is sharing to everyone. Surrounded by Idiots, a great read, a very good book, he says, on personalities at the workplace. And yes, I would recommend that for starters. There are resources online that you'd get, but yeah, Surrounded by Idiots, it's a good place to start. It is quite in-depth in terms of analyzing the different behaviors in the workplace. But again, if you are to do a quick assessment and observation, just observing how is it that people in the workplace are behaving, and perhaps going before you can judge how it is that they are behaving, fast-paced, slow-paced, have this urge to keep on wanting to talk to people, are scared of being alone and want to associate with people even before they make any decision. Just observing that and utilizing or juxtaposing that with the new information or the information that you have now in terms of the 4 basic personality profiles, I think then you can begin to appreciate what is motivating them. But importantly, I think what seems to be a killer or harmony, if you will, or cohesion in the workplace, as indicated here, is when communication goes wrong and when you do not have a culture that allows for psychological safety, that you will be judged depending on how you speak or the feedback that you seek. You will be punished. A culture that is not conducive for people to freely express themselves. I think it's a good place again to come and say and interrogate the culture in which you find yourself as a HR manager or as a CEO. Does it give people psychological safety so that they can express themselves, albeit with respect? How about communication? Is communication in clusters? Is it curtailed to a certain group of people, or does it flow freely? And are the mechanisms of communicating across the organization, again, conducive of an organization that wants to actually move forward? Or is communication what is stifling? Again, looking and analyzing at what may be promoting conflict in the workplace. It is known in organizations that there is also a lot of avoidance. When we see something which looks like conflict, but you want to sweep it under the carpet and be able to, say it is going to resolve itself. I am saying now here that no conflict will resolve on its own. So you might as well put in mechanisms, including training so that you have some champions who are on the lookout to see when we see conflict in an organization, how does it smell? How does it look like? And engage with the resolution in a proactive manner as opposed to waiting for it to resolve, because it's not going to go nowhere. And therefore, conflict avoidance, yes, I have seen that a lot, and I see it a lot in the public sector. Hoping it will go on its own, it will not go. And you might as well then begin to actually analyze, and through questionnaires and feedback and, structuring a conversation where people are free to be able to express themselves and communicate the tensions that they're experiencing, but reassuring them that it will not be used against them. If anything, you are using it to resolve. Vicky, back to you.
Yes, sorry, I think you could hear me. Sorry, I dropped out and I've come back in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if my previous question was answered on how you can learn and understand your styles despite having, before you experience a tool.
How you can learn, I don't know that inside 1 hour we are able to sufficiently share what is adequate, but if you only begin to reflect and look at yourself from the point of the 2 axes, which are the major, if you will, parameters that define the different personalities or behavioral patterns. One is, are you from a point of action? Are you very action oriented that you can't sit still? Even when you sit down like me, the hands are always in the air. Are you, how do you speak? Fast, moving? Are you very result driven so that you can actually forget, you manage, or you get performance through people? Are you so impatient that if a project is delayed, when my colleague who is a C is still perfecting the facts, that I will even take the job from you and do it because, I just want to go. I mean, I want results. I am very, very result focused. Are you very task oriented? And if you're very task oriented, result driven, and very action driven, it then means you can begin to put yourself within the quadrant, which is the dominant personality, heavily driven, on the move all the time. But on the other hand, if you are on the C, which is the lower, the quadrant, which is a C, conscientious,
Yes.
or compliant. If you find yourself being a person who is so very driven by facts that you'd rather sleep in the office up until you get the facts right and your research done. If your source of data was 100 people, you can't go home until the 100 people have actually turned in their data. You
Yes.
are somebody who thrives and can't find a good night's sleep until your reports are 101% accurate. If you're a person who does not want to be disturbed, you will be caught up with what we call is it called paralysis analysis? Is it?
Yes, paralysis analysis, yes.
You will be caught up because you will analyze, overanalyze, and if the manager tells you we are moving in a certain direction, you actually want him to give you several studies to confirm what he's telling you actually has worked elsewhere before you can, support him. Then that person might as well start putting themselves within the quadrant called C, the conscientious. This is all, looking at you with big eyes. Where are the facts? Tell me, before I can, I can give you my buy-in. On the other hand, the influencer, this person is happy-go-lucky. This is highly a person's person. They are the people who will be organizing the team, building event, even if they were to do it every once a week, because they are people's people. They just want to be out there having fun and getting people together and getting everybody happy. Coming from office to office, oh, can I help you? Are you all right? Are you, you don't look too excited today. That kind of a person, then you might as well begin thinking that is where you belong. And finally, the steady person. Stable. You are the, you're the daft, peace-loving. If there's a major change, you don't embrace it because you don't like changes. You're status quo person. You like everybody feeling accommodated. You consort, in fact, over consort. You communicate, in fact, over communicate. You are, again, a people's person, but you are not in a hurry to progress very urgently with any decision until people are happy and they are telling you, yeah, we are fine. This is a daft, peace-loving. Now, this person is not aggressive. They are not even assertive. So everything goes. Vicky, this is a good idea. Sicily is also a good idea. Rose, it was good. Adela, I like your idea. So making a decision, you're at crossroads all the time because everything goes. If you find yourself then with those kind of workplace behaviors, we can start telling you your orientation is towards a steady, that is a stable person. Stability is what makes you tick. So yeah, broadly put, those are the four. But I was quick to say that no one person fits within one quadrant. Most of us are a combination of 3 or 2. If you find yourself on one, then it is quite unusual. So we are a combination of the 4 in practical cases. Majority of us are a combination of 3 of those personalities. And we will be exhibiting 1. 1 would be the high. That's when I tell you I am a D, I'm high on D. It is what is most conspicuous is my drive. And I will then be having these other mannerisms also exhibiting depending on the situation that I find myself in. I would have wanted to introduce the concept of your ability to reach and get out of your natural wired state, to reach out to what it is you are not depending on the circumstances. If you are to find yourself, for example, I am a political advisor. If you are a stable personality, all you've known is to be within a corporate setting where there's a bit of sanity. And then you found yourself being an assistant or a personal assistant to a politician. Suddenly you get a new job and you go to be a personal assistant or an advisor of governor in Kenya today. You necessarily will have to stretch yourself, be a little bit uncomfortable, but move towards a very fast-paced environment because you'll find yourself in a situation where a politician will not even wait for a quarter of the facts to be available before they have talked. and it will be your business to manage them. So it means you have to move, with a bit of flexibility to that new environment. So again, this personality or these attributes that you are describing yourself around right now are really what is observable on the face of it. What can be, what is observable as a behavior, what can be measured as a behavior, what can also be described. But that is not cut in stone. You don't have to remain within that behavioral pattern. As the situation changes, you also change with it. For example, when COVID hit, for the people who are in health sector here, when COVID hit in 2020, even if you are somebody who is a nurse, even if you're somebody who is a C, that you can only make a decision when all the facts are in, we were forced to make decisions with half-baked information on the vaccines that were available, that are not gone through all the cycle, because the choice was then to allow people not to get the vaccine and die, or decide that we don't need all the facts in this case because it's an emergency and therefore we responded in a certain way. So this personality shouldn't pigeonhole you. It shouldn't box you, even when you have known where you are. If anything, it is to give you the awareness of these are my natural tendencies. And now that I know these and the situation is asking me to respond in a certain way, do I have the flexibility to be able to flex and to be able to respond as the situation calls for me to respond? When I'm a direct communicator, like most CEOs would be, it is really for you to know you can't thrive very well in a situation where everybody else is not a D. When you communicate in a very direct way, I mean, what kind of work is this you're bringing to me? This quality of work, I can't live with it. You are going to get them coil back, withhold information, and then you can be on your own because they will not welcome the way you are having a conversation with them. You must tone down your directness in terms of communication if then you are going to inspire and carry them and motivate them. Back to you, Vicky.
Thank you so much, Sicily, for at least painting that picture for everyone. And I'm hoping the participants we're having here today are seeing the various differences and how then this can actually contribute to conflict knowingly or sometimes unknowingly. In fact, I believe most of the time it is unknowingly. I also hope that you also see through the growth of self-awareness and the growth of understanding what your focus may be as a personality type on what your priorities and preferences would be, means that then you also start becoming aware that other people have certain preferences. And then possibly the working is in understanding where do the clashes come from? Where are the stressors? Where are the areas of collaboration and strength between each and every single style? Which style is more difficult for you to work with is another point to note, and which one is less, is more energizing for you to work with. I don't see any questions on the chat as of now. So I'm going to go ahead and ask if you have any last comments, Honorable Sicily, before we close.
Thank you, Vicky. I think for me is to encourage the participants on their journey of self-awareness and awareness of others. These are the anchor traits that any leader in the 21st century is being encouraged to develop. You may be an expert in your space, but growing, and scaling the corporate ladder in whichever sector you are in will require for you to tap into tools and strategies that help you to be self-aware, aware of self, aware of others, because leading is performing through others, getting results through others, aligning your vision with others and carrying them, inspiring them, willingly getting them to perform. And for you to do so, it merits for you to understand what motivates them, what is it they like, how do they like to be treated, how do they like to be communicated to? And some of the tools that are available is what you shared. And I want to appreciate you for your attention. I want to appreciate you for your participation. And hopefully I'll see you when finally you make a decision to enroll and do a deep dive in terms of the personalities and much more in terms of your journey as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sicily, and thank you for your words of wisdom. And to all the people who are listening in here, please remember that we do have the programs that we are running that still speak to the topic of growing in your self-awareness and of understanding what are your personality styles. Give me a moment. And these actually allow you to make better decisions when it comes to your teams, when it comes to the way that you interact and you collaborate with them. So just, I hope you can see my screen, just a polite reminder that we are running this session on June 14th, and it is a one-day session. All you have to do is click on the link that is in the chat below, or reach out to us at info@profiles.co.ke. You can also reach out to us on our socials, and we will be able to get back to you on how you can register, get a personality assessment done for you, and then join Honorable Sicily and I during the on June 14th for a one-day session or seminar to really unpack and help you understand what it means when it comes to personalities and how they play into better conflict management and resolution by understanding the psychology behind how we conflict as different individuals. And then also, last but not least, if you're interested in becoming a certified DISC practitioner, there is still a program for you where you can run these programs for your organization and help people deal better and resolve conflicts much better. If you're looking to connect with Sicily, she is on LinkedIn. We've shared her link on the chat. But if you just go and type Honorable Sicily Kariuki, you will find her. And if you can chat her up, she is always very, very welcome. We'll put her email as well in the chat. Honorable Sicily, I see your hand is up.
Yes, Vicky, thank you. I just saw Sylvia is asking or requesting that next webinar we can look at how to cope with the changes in this rapidly changing environment. And I think, Rose, that challenge comes to you. We can incorporate this in our series as we move forward. Change and how you need to prepare yourself to cope with the change.
Yes, noted that.
Thank you. And also, yes, the recording will be shared once we finalize it, and we will be sharing it through the emails that you've shared with us when you registered for this webinar. So without further ado, I want to thank you all our participants for being part of this webinar. Do keep spreading the word around on what we do and the webinars that we offer. They really, our brand promise is to mold cultures, and we do this by giving these talks often enough, and then by inviting you to participate in the programs that we run that are really essential in tomorrow's future world of work. And thank you so much, Honorable Sicily Kariuki, as always, for being a great partner, a great associate, always being there and ready and willing to share in your knowledge and be part of this movement of molding cultures. Asante sana. And for everyone, let me wish you a good night, and we shall see you at the next webinar. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone.